Everyone seems to recommend the same 3 dogs for first-time owners. So, why is choosing between them so difficult? You've probably already come across the same 3 breeds: the Labrador Retriever, the Golden Retriever, and the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. They're recommended more than just about any other breeds for first-time owners. So, you'd think choosing between them would be pretty straightforward, but you've probably discovered it isn't. You know, the more you read, the harder the decision becomes. Every article tells you they're great first dogs. Every video explains why they're wonderful. Every owner seems convinced their dog is the perfect choice. But you're still left wondering which one would actually suit me and my life. That's what we're going to look at today, not by trying to work out which breed is the best, because there isn't one. Instead, we're going to look at what it's actually like to live with each of them, and which one is most likely to fit the life you want. By the end of this video, I don't expect you to have made your final decision, but I do hope you'll have a much clearer idea of which breed you should be looking at more closely, because choosing your first dog isn't about finding everyone else's favourite breed. It's about finding the dog that feels like the right fit for your life. If you've already watched our ultimate guide for first-time dog owners, you'll remember we spent very little time talking about the dog breeds. Instead, we focused on something much more important: you, your lifestyle, your routine, your expectations, because understanding yourself always comes before understanding breeds. This video is where those ideas become practical. We're going to compare 3 breeds that are regularly recommended by first-time owners, not by asking which dog is friendlier or smarter or even easier. We'll ask a different question: what kind of owner naturally enjoys living with each one? As we move through the video, don't try to decide which breed sounds most impressive. Instead, notice which one simply feels familiar, because that's usually where good decisions begin. Now, before we compare these 3 breeds, let me ask you something. When people tell you the Labrador is a great first dog, or you can't go wrong with the Golden Retriever, have you ever stopped and thought, great, but would it actually suit me? Because that's the part that often gets missed. The recommendation is usually about the dog. Your decision is actually about your life, and those aren't always the same thing. Imagine 2 people choosing their first dog. One can't wait to spend weekends exploring beaches and walking tracks. The other is imagining quiet evenings at home with a dog curled up beside them. Neither person is wrong, neither lifestyle is better, but there's a good chance they won't be happiest with the same breed. That's why asking, what's the best first dog, can be a surprisingly unhelpful question. A much better question is, which dog naturally fits the life I already live? Because dogs don't spend their lives trying to become what we need. They simply behave the way generations of careful breeding have shaped them to behave. And our job isn't to change the dog, it's to recognise which one already fits. Let's begin with the breed that's probably introduced more first-time owners to dog ownership than any other: the Labrador Retriever. Let's start with a question. What are you actually looking forward to? Is it getting outside more often? Exploring new places together? Having a dog that's always ready to join you? whether you're heading to the beach, walking a local track, or simply enjoying a weekend away. Because if that's the lifestyle already excites you, there's a good chance you're describing the type of owner who naturally enjoys living with a Labrador Retriever. And that's one of the reasons the breed is recommended so often for first-time owners. Not because Labradors are the best first dog, but because for many people, they naturally fit the life they were already hoping to live. Labradors generally like being involved. Whatever you're doing, they usually want to be a part of it. For some owners, that's exactly what makes the breed so rewarding. For others, it's more involvement than they were expecting. So here's another question. When you come home after a long day, what do you picture? A quiet evening, or a dog that's been waiting all day for its favourite person to walk through the door? Because your Labrador has probably had a very different day from you. You've been busy, they've been waiting. And now they're ready to make the most of every minute you're together. For the right owner, that's one of the breed's greatest joys. That's part of what people love about them. Training feels rewarding because they're eager to learn. Walks become shared adventures. Even ordinary days often become a little more interesting simply because your dog is so excited to be involved. But that same enthusiasm also asks something of you. Your time, energy, consistency. Not because Labradors are difficult dogs, but because they're dogs that genuinely enjoy being involved in their owners' lives. The more you invest in that relationship, the more rewarding it often becomes. As we've been talking, have you found yourself smiling? Have you been thinking, that sounds exactly like the sort of dog I'd love to come home to? Or have you been quietly wondering, I love the idea of a close relationship, but perhaps I don't need quite that much energy? If that's where your thoughts have started drifting, don't ignore it, because recognising what doesn't quite fit is just as valuable as recognising what does. Let's imagine a slightly different picture. When you think about your first dog, is it really the adventures you're looking forward to the most, or is it the relationship? Maybe what you've been imagining isn't a dog that's constantly asking, what's next? Maybe you're picturing one that's simply happier sharing the life with you. A dog that quietly becomes part of your family. One that joins you for walks because you're going, not because it needs somewhere to burn off energy. People often compare Goldens with Labradors, and it's easy to understand why. They're both friendly, they're both intelligent, they're both wonderful choices for many first-time owners, but they don't always feel the same to live with. So imagine arriving home. A Labrador often greets you with excitement that fills the room. A Golden Retriever, on the other hand, often greets you with a warmth that fills the room. Both are delighted to see you. They simply express it a little differently. It's just another reminder that choosing a dog isn't about finding the best breed. It's about recognising the relationship that feels most natural to you. So let me ask you another question. When you imagine life with your dog, do you see them joining in with everything your family does? School holidays, weekends away, time in the garden, relaxing together after dinner? If those moments are what you've been picturing, there's a good chance the Golden Retriever is beginning to make more sense. Many owners describe Goldens as dogs that don't just enjoy spending time with their people, they enjoy sharing life with them. And that's one of the reasons so many families develop such strong bonds with the breed. Training often reflects that relationship too. So rather than feeling like something that has to be done, it often becomes another enjoyable part of spending time together. Learning becomes part of the relationship, not separate from it. But here's another question that's worth asking yourself. When you picture your ideal dog, are you also picturing brushing that beautiful coat every week? Because it's easy to fall in love with the appearance of a golden retriever, but it's equally important to picture the routine that comes with it. Some people genuinely enjoy grooming. They see it as another opportunity to spend quiet time with their dog. Others realise they're looking for something a little easier to maintain. Have you been thinking, this feels like the relationship I've been hoping to find? Or have you been quietly thinking, oh, I love everything about this, but perhaps I'm looking for something even simpler? So if that's where your thoughts have been leading, let's meet the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. Every time we've talked about adventures, or energetic weekends, or active family life, have you been quietly thinking, that all sounds lovely, but it's not really what I'm looking for? Maybe your perfect day is much simpler. A coffee on a Sunday morning, working from home with a dog, an evening on the sofa after work, a walk through the neighbourhood rather than a day exploring the mountains. If that feels more like your life, there's a good chance you've already started recognising yourself in the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. And that's exactly why they're so often recommended to first-time owners. Not because they're easier, but because they ask for something different from the relationship. Unlike the Labrador and the Golden Retriever, the Cavalier has spent generations being bred primarily as companionship. That history still shows today. They're often happiest when they're simply sharing life with the people they love. When you picture your future dog, where are they? Are they running ahead on the walking track, or quietly curled up beside you while you're reading a book? Many Cavalier owners describe them as little shadows, not because they're demanding, not because they're constantly asking for attention, but because they generally seem happiest when they're close to their people. For someone looking for companionship above almost everything else, that can feel incredibly rewarding. A lot of the relationship happens in the ordinary moments. Working from home, watching television, reading, cooking, dinner. Of course, they still enjoy getting out, walks, playtime, exploring somewhere new. They still benefit from positive training and early socialisation. But generally speaking, they don't ask quite as much physically from their owners as a young Labrador or Golden Retriever. For some people, that's exactly the balance they've been hoping to find. But before you decide, this is definitely my dog, there's one important question worth asking yourself. How often will your dog be home alone? Because the same companionship that makes Cavaliers such wonderful family members also means they often find long periods of solitude more difficult than some other breeds. If your work keeps you away for most of the day, it's worth thinking carefully about whether your lifestyle matches what this breed naturally needs. Not because Cavaliers can't adapt, but because choosing the right dog is always a two-way relationship. The question isn't only, will this dog make me happy? It's also, can I give this dog the life it deserves? There's one final consideration too, that beautiful silky coat. Can you picture yourself brushing it regularly? Does that feel like another quiet moment together, or does that feel like another responsibility that might become a chore? So, before we compare these three breeds one last time, I'd like you to ask yourself something. As we've talked about the Cavalier, have you found yourself relaxing, thinking, this feels like owning a dog and more like sharing a life with a companion? If you have, you may already know which breed guide we'll be watching next. Before you decide, let's look at what all three breeds have really been showing us. After everything we've talked about today, which one are you still thinking about? Maybe it was the Labrador, the idea of getting out more, trying new places, and having a dog that's always keen to come along. Maybe it was the Golden Retriever, a dog that simply becomes part of the family and shares whatever everyday life brings. Or perhaps it was the Cavalier, a companion that's happiest just being with you, whether you're out for a walk or relaxing at home. If one of those breeds stands out more than the others, I'd start there. That's probably the breed you should learn more about next. You don't need to make your final decision today. You just need to know where to keep learning. That's exactly why we've created individual breed guides for each of these breeds. They'll give you a much better picture of what everyday life is really like, the routines, the good bits, and the challenges. The more you understand before bringing a dog home, the more likely you are to find a dog that's a great fit for both you and your future companion, because the dog you choose will shape your life. I hope today's video has helped make the decision feel a little easier. If you're still comparing options, you'll find links in the description to more breed guides and pet stories. And if you are simply enjoying celebrating life with dogs, you'll also find pet-inspired artwork over at Wild Lily. Thanks for watching Pet Personalities.